Hey everyone, welcome back to the Glass Seats podcast. This is where two hockey aficionados discuss their perspectives on headlines surrounding the NHL, including recent stories, game highlights, league culture, and other topics trending amongst the fans. I'm Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal, and this week in hockey, this might be the shortest conference finals that I have ever seen.
Ever. I was going to say, I don't think that in my, 12 years, 13 years of watching this, has it ever gone by this fast?
I don't know. We're about to see possibly a double sweep. We already got one in the Eastern Conference, and the Western Conference, Vegas has a 3-0 lead.
And we got a NBA sweep, or almost had a double NBA sweep too. So
sports is weird this year, man.
Yeah, very weird.
So we're recording this on Wednesday, May 24th. We just watched the Panthers take down the Carolina Hurricanes in four games, swept in the conference finals.
4.3 seconds left.
Carolina does not have good luck in the third round.
No. I'm surprised we haven't or other media outlets haven't talked about it. I'm sure tomorrow will be a different story, but Carolina is a 2-round team and done. You said they got swept in every third round?
So for the recently, past 3 times that they've gone to the conference final, I don't think they've won a single game.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're completely different rosters. It's not like they've been going year after year after year.
Yeah.
Different goalies, different players. It's uncanny.
Yeah, they looked so good in the first 2 rounds too. It's not like they just barely made it by.
Oh no, yeah. They were looking real good.
Yeah.
We were pretty high on them on this show.
I thought they were going to win it all. And Florida, specifically CLUTCHUK and Bob had something to say about that.
Yeah. Speaking of Bob, can I read you the stat line?
Sure.
Bob's save percentage. Game 1, 0.969. Game 2, 0.974.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3, 1.000. And game 4, 0.923.
Man.
Have you ever seen a goalie this good in the playoffs?
It's like he's getting better as the playoffs go on instead of getting worse.
Yeah.
The fatigue kicks in, the mental just even making it to the finals is like daunting in of itself if you haven't been there. He's just getting better and better. They're just having fun at this point.
Even the Tampa Bay dynasty, where Vasilevsky was a huge part, was he this good?
No, absolutely not.
I haven't looked at the exact numbers, but this is some of the best goalie performance I've seen since maybe Jonathan Quick in the Kings 2 Cups.
I was going to say Carey Price in 21 was pretty incredible.
That's a good one.
But yeah, this is like some Dominic Hasek like type performance.
It's insane.
Yeah.
He looks unbeatable.
Yeah.
And, we'll talk about Stanley Cup predictions coming up here, but I mean, with this combination of Matthew Tkachuk and Sergei Bobrovsky, like, they might have to share the Conn Smythe if they win.
Yeah, I think so. They'll just saw it in half and be like, here you go, guys.
Yeah. Out of the 4 games that they won, Tkachuk had 3 game winners and the primary assist on the 4th.
Yeah. I mean, that Flames deal is not looking good at all right now.
Right now. There's still a chance there.
Yes, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, Huberdeau had a down year, but this is just pouring salt into the wound.
Yeah, and I mean, Calgary made wholesale changes this offseason. Just real quick, we're probably not going to talk about it, but new GM, potentially new coach. I mean, I think guaranteed new coach. Just haven't said who yet. So we'll see what happens with Huberdeau out there. But right now, it's all eyes on Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. I mean, now that they've gone to the finals, do you think they're actually going to seal the deal?
I want them to. This is insane. I want them to get rewarded for this. But just before we started recording, you were telling me about all the other great goalie performances that were kind of stopped. Pekka Rinne from Nashville. What was the other one?
Martin Jones, I guess, in 2016.
Martin Jones in 2016. So there isn't really a history there, but I kind of want them to do it.
Yeah.
I want them to do it.
Yeah. It's been a pretty incredible series. And I think the biggest X factor, in my opinion, besides obviously Bob and Tkachuk, is Florida had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And the 3 opponents they've taken down so far have been Boston, Toronto, and Carolina, which were all like 20 points or something ahead of them in the regular season.
Yeah, Florida barely made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they were 1 point away from missing.
Yeah, they can thank Chicago for that, for taking out Pittsburgh randomly out of the blue. Yeah. And but yeah, so maybe it just leads me to think like maybe entering the playoffs as a wild card, a lower ranked team, a slept on team, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that is beneficial for the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, in my kind of experience, it's the best, like the sweet spot is to be in like the 2-3 spot in the division. just looking at like previous history, like looking at Tampa. Tampa came in one year as the top seed, destroying everyone, and then got swept in the first round.
Yes.
The other next years they weren't the top seed; they were like the 2 or 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Avalanche did that too. I think
same as the Avalanche.
Yeah, they were second overall in the league. I think when they won last year, and they waltzed their way to a Stanley Cup, 16-4.
So what I'm hypothesizing live on the air right here is that if you are one of those top teams, it takes too much out of you in the regular season to play that well and maintain that spot. But if you're the 2-3 team, you're kind of in that sweet spot where you're really good, but you didn't spend all of it in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. So would you say this Florida team's a little bit more magic than actual?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sergei Bobrovsky, did he even have a 900 save percentage in the regular season?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I feel like I need to go back and check now.
Even if he did, it was not. What was his best one? A shutout. Besides the shutout, he had a 9.74 in game 2. He was not this good.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I don't think playoff magic.
I don't think any goalie was this good. Yeah.
And if you're any one of you who are saying that you knew Florida was this good, you're lying.
Yeah.
They were down 3-1 to Boston. We had all written them off.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Unless you are unless you are delusional, like an actual delusional Florida fan, you nobody thought they were getting this far.
Or you picked them as a meme.
Yeah, you were joking. Like you were joking around, and you were like, "Oh, they're going to make it. They're totally going to make it." And now look at them.
They have defied all expectations. Mm-hmm. So I'm on their side. I want to see what they do in the Cup final.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. When we first started these playoff predictions, I said Panthers in 5 against Boston as a meme a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm really eating my words right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
man. All right, let's move out to the West here. Dallas versus Vegas. Vegas has a 3-0 lead in the series. Game 4 is tomorrow on Thursday, so probably done by the time you're listening to this.
Yep.
But as of now, we just watched Jamie Benn with an absolute gutless play.
Probably the dumbest penalty of his career.
Oh, yeah. This is the dumbest penalty I've ever seen. I can't think of one that was as dumb, especially when it was committed, how it was committed. So for those of you who missed it, this is game 3 of the playoffs. Vegas scores like a minute in, right? So now Dallas is already down 1 straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Almost immediately after this goal, Jamie Benn is taking the puck up ice, sees Mark Stone coming, and checks him, or reverse checks him, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But he makes contact with Mark Stone. Mark Stone falls. Mm-hmm. Now, if this was the regular season, that hit itself probably could have been called an interference penalty. Mark Stone didn't have the puck. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, he then falls. For those of you on audio, I'm doing large air quotes. Falls on Mark Stone and cross-checks him in the chin.
In front of the ref.
Yeah. Add insult to injury. This is at the foot of the ref. Like the ref is literally, I think it was actually the linesman, but an official is literally standing and watching this happen right in front of his feet.
Yeah.
Jamie Benn, you are a captain, and I understand that you take liberties in the playoffs, but that was a dumb freaking penalty, man.
It was. It really was. If this might be a hot take, but I don't think Jamie Benn should be wearing that C anymore. And the reason I say that is this is not the first time he's thrown a temper tantrum when things haven't gone his way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back. There's like videos of him just sitting on the bench, breaking sticks. I'm like, why? I understand. There's a lot to be said in actions, but I mean, you should be as the captain, as the leader of this team. You really should be controlling your emotions and rallying your boys. Like that's not the way to do it.
Okay, I can forgive breaking a stick. At least you didn't put your team down for a 5-minute major, get yourself kicked out of the game, and
possibly
sap the momentum from this playoff game when your team just got scored on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
come on, man.
You put the nail in the coffin in the first period, which is a shame.
They were done.
Yeah, as a captain on your home ice, it's bad.
On the ensuing penalty, I think Vegas scored once and then scored once again immediately after that penalty, and Jake Ottinger got pulled.
Yeah. And you made your young goalie look bad. Yeah, come on, dude. Like as a captain, that's not okay.
Yeah, you put the dagger in it, and now from today's news, we know that he got a 2-game suspension. Mm-hmm. So he's potentially out for Game 4 and a potential Game 5.
If there's even a Game 5.
If there even is a Game 5. And if Game 5 doesn't happen, he's out for the first game of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, first game of the regular season.
Yeah.
Just embarrassing.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. I understand he signed a long contract and he was that guy back in the day, but dude, I don't know. And obviously we're just sitting here and it's easy to criticize, but not even talking about from a production perspective, as a leadership, perspective, it's not there. Like I don't know, as a young guy, which Dallas has a lot of, that's not the guy who I would be like looking up to for inspiration. Especially when you got people like Pavelski, Suter, Sagan on the team. I'm like, that's the guy who cross-checked the other captain in front of the ref and basically screwed us.
And this is not saying that people don't make mistakes. Leaders make mistakes,
of course,
but
that's not even a mistake. That's an error.
Okay, sure.
That's
but did you see how he handled it even after it happened?
I did not know.
So after the game, Jamie Benn blew by all the media.
So he's a sore loser.
Didn't say anything. The only time I think he addressed the media was after the suspension came out, and even then didn't say anything worth repeating. Like,
yeah,
you got to kind of own up to it at that point,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. At this point, like people are rooting against you and your team just because of that.
Yeah,
it's just Again, we're not trying to focus all entirely on this one play, but that's basically been the summary of the series so far.
Yeah, and I mean, you take a look at the other games. One went into OT. Vegas came out.
Both went into
OT.
Game 1 and 2, I think.
Okay, yeah. Vegas came out on top. Jake Ottinger's been pulled 3 times in the playoffs so far.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was saying this about young goalies, right? Like, you expect them to get better. I think we talked about Stuart Skinner from the Edmonton Oilers last show. So, I mean, this is Ottinger's first deep run into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The last time Dallas was here was not with Jake Ottinger in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you expect him to kind of get better. This was in a good foray, but I think this is a bigger deal for some of those vets on the teams, like we talked about, Jamie Benn being one of them. But then there's also Tyler Seguin, Joe Pavelski, Ryan Suter.
Clock's running out, too.
Clock's running out, and, they got to do something that's never been done in the conference final, which is come back from a 3-0 deficit.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. That being said, actually, so I think it's safe to say regardless of whether it's 4 or 5, we both think Vegas is going on.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't see Dallas coming back from this, especially without Jamie Benn in the lineup.
Yeah.
Regardless of all the antics, he was a key contributor.
Mm-hmm.
Also, having seen Pete DeBoer coach up close, man sticks to his systems almost stubbornly.
Yeah.
So
I think it's got him I think it's screwed over his team many times. Just because he was I understand, sticking to what works, but if it's not working, change it.
Yeah.
Which Peter DeBoer doesn't do.
I don't understand when DeBoer changes things and when he doesn't. Yeah. And it's very confusing sometimes as a fan of a Pete DeBoer coach team.
Yeah. And Vegas, Pete DeBoer was with Vegas and when they played Dallas and he just refused to make adjustments and Dallas took him down in 5. I don't think that's a coincidence by any means.
I think the hope that they have is that Jake Ottinger finds his game again and absolutely shuts it down, which we've seen him do before.
For 4 games straight?
It's a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
This is a Hail Mary.
On a young goalie.
And you need some players to step up, right? Mm-hmm. If Ben's out of the lineup, Robertson's had kind of a quiet playoff.
I'm surprised. I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, I remember when we first started these playoff predictions, I was like, that kid's going to be the X factor.
Yeah,
I think pretty quiet.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch teams play against Dallas, I think he draws a lot of coverage.
Yes.
And this is new for him.
Yes.
This is also his first deep playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we said last show, half this Dallas roster is old vets who are running out of time. The other half is really, really young kids.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have someone right in the middle right now. So I think half the roster is learning, but they need examples to learn from. And sorry to go back to it, but sorry, Jamie Benn, not a good example.
Yeah, not at all.
So if you're hoping for a rally from this team, I can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's really, I do want to see Dallas win this as a very biased Sharks fan, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I do think we're in for a Vegas and Florida finals, which would be great because then we'll finally see a player making over 10 mil.
Oh, yeah.
Win a cup. So
Viddy's favorite theory is about to fall off.
Yeah. I'm very happy about it. I'm so mortified by some of these Sharks contracts. But that being said, Vegas and Florida in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
What's your prediction?
Well, I'm rooting for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to say Florida, and I'm going to say 6. Florida in 6.
Mm-hmm. As much as I want to agree with your answer, I somehow think this is going to be the end of the Magic run. Something about the finals changes people. Vegas has the experience. I'm going to say Vegas in 5.
5.
I think somehow something is going to run out for Bob or Kachuk or something is going to happen, and it's just going to be And Vegas has like played against has taken down a Paul Maurice coach team like maybe twice at this point. I knew they took down the Jets in the conference finals at one point, but yeah, we'll see. So they probably know his system a little bit better. But that being said, as much as I hate to admit it, I think it might be Vegas in 5.
Did you know Aiden Hill was this good?
As soon as anyone takes off the Sharks jersey, they become better. Yes,
it's just one of those things.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, how did even Jonathan Quick? I mean, like not saying he was bad by any means. Like but he did definitely taper off after those 2 cup runs.
Vegas somehow it does not matter who's playing goalie.
They're just always good.
They're just good.
They were on like their 8th string goalie at their inaugural year.
And remember in their inaugural year, they had someone from, I think, the ECHL.
Yeah.
Because that's how deep down their depth chart they went.
Yeah. And they weren't getting blown out.
Like, no, they were still winning games. That guy still had like an above 9 save percentage. So
I don't get it.
If teams are studying defensive systems, I think Vegas is the blueprint.
Yeah.
And they've done this with multiple coaches too.
Yeah.
Just somehow.
Yeah. It's not, at this point, it's not the GM, it's not the coaches, it's truly the players, and just smart players, whether you want to admit it or not. They're frustrating the hell out of players, and clearly it's showing. Look at what Jamie Benn did, right? Like, it's showing. So,
wild.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some off-ice things. I think the big off-ice story that's got all of the buzz going right now is out in Toronto.
Yeah.
So the Toronto Maple Leafs with Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan.
This is like a reality TV show unfolding.
Yeah, so if you missed it, I'm going to give you a quick summary here. Kyle Dubas is the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, or I should say was the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This kid, he's pretty young. He's just about 30 or just over 30.
Yeah.
Which is young for a general manager.
Yeah. At 35 maybe at most.
Yeah. And he's highly regarded as one of the best GMs. He's been GM of the Leafs for the past 5 years, and the Leafs have been a top 5 team pretty much since that whole time. Yeah. And even before that, he was the assistant GM. So he's been here quite a long time in the Maple Leafs organization. He signed John Tavares. That was one of his big moves. The trade deadline this year, bringing over Ryan O'Reilly. So he's done quite a lot with the Maple Leafs roster.
I think he was also he was at the Hull of the Ship when the whole Mitch Marner situation was happening, like the contract extension.
Yeah,
and he was like holding out or something.
Yeah. His famous quote from Elliot Freeman's podcast, the 32 Thoughts podcast, was
"We can
and we will."
Yeah,
in regards to signing the Leafs' big 4.
Yeah.
So this guy is highly regarded amongst the league. His contract was up at the end of the season, and it seems like at the beginning of the season, leadership of the Leafs, including President of Hockey Ops Brendan Shanahan, told Kyle that it would be up to this year on whether or not he got an extension, and people took that to mean depending on their playoff success. Of course, the Leafs had not won a playoff round for 19 years until this year.
Yeah.
So this year, they do finally beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round.
Yeah.
Which is huge for Toronto. At that point, it seems that Shanahan was prepared to give Dubas a contract at the end of the season. Of course, the Leafs didn't do that well in the second round, lost in 5 to the Florida Panthers. So end of the season came up pretty quickly than they were hoping. But it seems like Shanahan did give Dubas an initial offer. At the end of year press conference during locker cleanout, somebody asked Kyle Dubas if he would be coming back as GM. And he said that he wasn't sure that if he wanted to continue. And that he would want to talk to his family, and that he'd found out that the past year had been pretty hard on them, and he just wanted to have that conversation before he confirmed everything. And it seems like after that Brendan Shanahan did not really like this response because he wanted someone who was all in. And please, again, to note that this is after Dubas has received an initial offer for the position. So a couple days later, Dubas then reached back out to Brendan Shanahan, said, "Hey, I would like to be a GM." And there was a contract offer given, which was through Kyle Dubas' agent. And it seems from Shanahan's press conference after this whole thing went out, it seems like there was a gap in the finances offered. On 32 Thoughts, Elliot Freeman's podcast, he also reported that it seems apparent that Dubas wanted a little bit more control than he was given.
Mhm.
So it seems for his moves as general manager, he had to go through Brendan Shanahan as well as the board of the Maple Leafs, Maple Leafs Sports and Entertainment, which owns the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
It seems like Dubas wanted to go directly to the board rather than go through Shanahan. I'm reporting the second hand from Elliot Friedman, so this is a long game of telephone to get to these details. So that is alleged, but there was at least from Shanahan himself a difference in money. After that, and including Dubas's responses in that press conference, it seems Shanahan has decided to go in another direction and had told Kyle that he would not be coming back as GM of the Maple Leafs
After already offering that contract.
after that initial contract. So that was a lot to follow, but what do you think?
Well, I think it's clear that Shanahan might be the problem.
That direct.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a constant since the Matthews era began, I believe.
Way before that.
Yeah, at 20. Well, I'm just going on when they were relevant, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the Matthews era. And GMs have come in and out. This is now it was Lou Lamoriello for a while, and then
Now Dubas.
Now Dubas took over, and now I guess we'll have to find someone else. But my issue with this is Dubas was backed into a corner, I guess you could say. Either he re-signs the core four or he gets fired. And he did re-sign them and got fired because they underperformed. Which, you can only do so much about that. And basically, my issue is imagine booting your GM that did exactly what he was expected to do. And then you basically switched up on him just because he wanted to, consult with his family first for an offer. I think that's a very logical and reasonable argument. Why would you switch up on that so quickly? Is beyond me. And again, the result of the second round is, I don't know. One, you went through a Florida team who's on a mission clearly, and two, how is you can't play for Tavares or Nylander or Marner or Matthews or whatever. He's not on ice actually shooting the puck.
Yeah.
He can only do so much. It's the same reason, Doug Wilson was never fired because San Jose choked in the playoffs.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
If a GM builds a team that has consistent regular season success, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, do you think that GM has done a good job?
Well, again, going back to the backed into a corner thing, imagine the hell he would have had to deal with if he didn't re-sign the core four, even if it was in the best interest of the team.
But had they had more playoff success, would it have mattered?
That I'm not sure. But clearly, I mean, sure, they won one game in round two. I don't really know if you can call that a success by any means. But
no, I mean something like when we got to the point of keeping all four of them, right? Let's say at that point he traded, pick a name out of a hat, Mitch Marner. He traded Mitch Marner.
Sure.
But then the Leafs won 2 rounds 1 year, maybe got bounced in the first round 1 year, won 2 rounds the next, had something like that. Didn't win a cup, but a little bit more playoff success than what they had. Would it have mattered?
I think the Leafs fans would have forgiven him, yes. Because at the end of the day, they just want to see someone in a navy blue jersey with a Maple Leaf crest lift a Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
they don't care what that
wants,
roster
right?
is. Yeah, they don't care what that roster is. And I think the issue was there was so much pressure when he first took this GM job. There was so much pressure to get those core four signed.
Yeah.
And he did that. He did what literally everyone. I don't even think he had a choice, honestly. I think he even if he wanted to go a different direction, clearly Shanahan's a lot more controlling than we initially thought. Did he really have a choice? I think he was kind of doomed to fail to begin with. That's my issue.
I think it wasn't so much that he did sign all four. I think people felt he overpaid them.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were going to get those contracts anywhere. You either keep them by overpaying them, or you let them walk, and they're going to make the same amount of money somewhere else.
Maybe, but this was, before Auston Matthews had a 60-goal season, before Auston Matthews won a Hart Trophy. He was just all potential at that point,
Sure, he lived up to some of the potential, but who cares? The goal is a Stanley Cup, not all these. I mean, depending on who the player is, obviously, I don't know what goes on in terms of mentality of the players, but I don't know. It just feels very off-putting to me that you blame the GM, who was literally just he was planning on coming back.
Mhm.
He just wanted to consult with his family, wanted a little bit more money, wanted a little bit more,
Control.
hands-on. Yeah. And you got rid of him for that? He's a good GM, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's proved his point, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think with Shanahan at the whole, it's a hard place to play. Let's just put it that.
I mean, Toronto's always a hard place to play.
It's always been.
It's the biggest spotlight in the NHL.
Right, it has been. But like, when you literally are almost like punished for doing what you're expected to do,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. I agree with you on certain points and disagree on others.
Okay.
Baseline, I don't think getting rid of Kyle Dubas is a bad move in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was a dumb process. If you were ready to extend him, and then you didn't because of what he said in a press conference and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk to his family, that seems like, okay, you guys have a communication issue in your org, or a trust
Shanahan
issue, or
got his
something.
feelings hurt, or something. Yeah.
Something, or or Dubas overplayed his hand in a negotiation. In which case, why is he a general manager? But
Yeah.
Besides that, I can understand the logic for wanting to move on from Dubas.
Mhm.
Regardless of what he did in the regular season, the team hasn't had playoff success.
Mhm.
And you mentioned Doug Wilson, longtime general manager of the San Jose Sharks, 20 plus years,
Mhm.
tons and tons of regular season success,
Mhm.
but never won a cup.
Mhm.
And having the 2020 hindsight of that,
Mhm.
maybe even if Doug Wilson was doing a good job, maybe there was someone with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective who could have taken the Sharks further than he did.
Mm-hmm.
And with that hindsight, I can understand why they want to move on from Dubas.
God,
You gave him
okay.
5 years, didn't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
The method in which they did it and the timing in which they did it is kind of
A little classless.
a little classless and a little, you put your org kind of in peril
Mhm.
because of what your contract situations are.
Mhm.
So Marner and Matthews have no movement clauses that start in July.
Mhm.
If you want to trade either of them, you have to do it before July or you have to get their permission.
Yeah.
Matthews and Nylander both have 1 season left.
Mhm.
Matt Marner and Tavares have 2.
Mhm.
And just in general, the Maple Leafs only have 7 forwards signed for next year.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So a last minute GM change.
This is almost deja vu of the core four needing to get their extensions.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not Tavares, so that doesn't really count. But Marner, Nylander, and Matthews needing their extensions. But all of a sudden, you have a new GM. There's no more Lou Lamoriello. There's a brand new GM. This new guy's got to like fix it.
Yeah.
And
And
that's a big task to take on.
And if Matthews is a top 5 player in the NHL,
Mhm.
if he doesn't trust this GM,
He's walking.
does he want to stay?
Yeah, he's walking. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's had a bunch of success to make him want to stay,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, Matthews hasn't said anything yet, so we don't know.
Mhm.
But you've raised the question by doing this, right?
Yeah.
And if you were really going to pin the GM job on this year's playoff run, shouldn't you have had 2 or 3 candidates in your back pocket already?
Yeah. I don't think they have anyone right now lined up.
Because it seemed like they were ready to extend Dubas.
Yeah.
In which case, you should have said, if you really didn't like his comments, you should have said, okay, we're giving you a 1-year extension.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you spend the year getting candidates ready and you tell them you win the cup next year or you're out.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
like, what if this leads to, what if this one poor decision based on whatever it is, like you said, communication? I don't know.
Yeah.
What if this one poor decision by Shanahan, leads to Toronto picking up a GM like Peter Chiarelli, and then
They're not going to take Chiarelli.
well, someone like of that, let's say, caliber, that skill level of of general managing. And then your star players start to walk, for better or for worse. We don't know if it's going to liberate the team or whatever, but your star players start walking. Toronto becomes once again known as this place to not go if you're a player or anyone. I'm like, is this, obviously we're speculating here, but is this one decision going to domino and kind of just take things apart?
I mean, it has equal likelihood of dominoing the other way and then winning the cup in 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know. It is
very,
a gamble. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gamble. And you've made it, I think you've gambled when the chips are not in your favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I
is,
agree with that. That's
which sure you can do it. You could still win, but it's a risky move.
Yeah.
Right. Unless, Shanahan should have said, I'm taking over as interim GM. In the meantime, I don't even think they named an interim.
No.
So
I don't think they did, no.
Are you just going to let these players chill until July 1st?
Yeah.
There's a draft before that.
Yeah.
Who's doing the draft picks?
Yeah.
Like,
you send Matthews there? Or, I don't know. Or Tavares?
You've given yourself a very, very short timeline to find a general manager.
Yeah.
Right?
You've almost shot yourself in the foot. The 1-year deal would have made sense for Dubas if they, didn't get along or whatever. Because at least at that point, the major contracts with, Matthews, Marner, and all these NMCs, like, you're not going to have to deal with them as bad.
There's always a question of, okay, would Dubas even take that?
Yeah.
But it sounded like he wanted to be in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, he'd built this team, right?
Yeah.
And if Dubas is asking for more control, I don't think that's just a pure ego thing.
No,
right?
I think he knew what he was doing.
Dubas is so far proven to be kind of a smart guy.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there was some communication or process issue in your org and that he was trying to fix.
Yeah.
Or at least assist in some way. So, I don't know. It will look like idiots if they hire someone and it works out.
Yeah.
But
I don't think this is going to work out, though.
Yeah.
I think it's a very risky move. Like we said, gamble. But yeah, it's really hard to tell. And I think the only way we're going to know is if we wait till we just wait, honestly.
Yeah.
July 1st will tell us a lot.
If you were Austin Matthews, what would you do right now?
I'd be very hesitant about re-signing there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's clear that, I'm there since 2016, and you've gone through, 2 separate GMs now, and one single playoff round. You did everything right, but the guy way up in charge booted him. Dude, like, if I'm Austin Matthews, I'm like, there hasn't been enough tangible success for me here in Toronto for me to really convince signing another long-term deal. At some point, Austin Matthews has enough to retire already.
Oh, yeah.
Like, money's not an issue, so.
Not at a NHL lifestyle. Maybe at your or my lifestyle.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking. But, still, the dude's good. The dude's fine financially. But, I don't know. It really depends what his priorities are. Is he trying to just keep raking in the dough? Is he trying to, live in the spotlight? I don't know. But if I'm Matthews, I'm trying to win a cup.
Do you wait for this year, or do you ask for a trade right now?
Oh man, I don't know, because the players, that core 4 had a really good relation with Dubas, so I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. I personally would probably just honor the contract.
Yeah.
But then Toronto might lose out on a huge haul. We'll see.
If I was him, I'd wait for the first half of the season and then ask for a trade deadline trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, right?
Well, it depends on how good the Leafs
if he waves the NMC.
Yeah, it depends on how good the Leafs are this year too, right? If the Leafs are playoff bound, you might as well.
Yeah, just stick it out. Yeah,
I think Leafs are going to be one of the most interesting teams this offseason.
Yeah, all of a sudden, yeah. Just with I honestly didn't even know that they had the NMCs too until recently, maybe 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh wow, it's a no movement just for that one final year.
Yeah, that Matthews contract. We talked about Dubas building a successful regular season team, but you gave him a contract that walks him right to unrestricted free agency.
Yeah,
you gave him $11 million, and
I'm sure Matthews negotiated that though. The NMC.
And that new movement clause in the last year of the contract to avoid a trade deadline dump. I think Matthews really won that negotiation, man.
Yeah, I was like, if he wants out, he is out.
Yeah, he holds all the cards.
Yeah, and you let go of the one dude who had a really good relationship with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know, Shanahan. This is hopefully your actions. Hopefully you have a little crystal ball on your desk so you know what's actually happening. But not looking too great right now.
We will see.
Yeah.
A lot of teams that need new GMs and things. So kind of as the playoffs wrap up here, this podcast is going to follow along in those stories a little bit more, especially as we build toward the draft.
It's going to be a very interesting offseason. I can't remember an offseason like this interesting in a while.
Yeah, we talked about what are the Seattle Kraken going to do.
Yeah.
Draft. Pittsburgh Penguins have new front office. The Flames have a new front office.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. Arizona might not exist.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. So, if you've been following along with us, we're going to finish out the playoffs here. We got Stanley Cup final starting in early June. So that's always exciting. But then, we're going to talk about draft. We're going to talk about free agency. So, this podcast is going to be active into the summer and up to July 1st free agency.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually excited for the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's what happens when you're a fan of a rebuilding team, right?
That's
you
true.
suddenly get excited about the offseason.
That is true. This is our playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
all right. You got anything else for today?
No, I think that's everything. We'll see how this all pans out. There's a lot to uncover.
Yeah. And thank you for listening to Glass Seats. We're out every week. So follow us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find podcasts. Catch you later.
Peace.